Doomsday Survival, My Apocalypse Begins with Saeko Poshima. Like, share and subscribe. Episode 41. After Fong Nan went to the car, he jumped on the roof of a small car and observed the surrounding situation. The poisonous island in the car originally did not have to get off the car, but seeing that so many zombies surrounded Fong Nan, she was anxious, and also opened the car door and got out of the car, and suddenly, the wooden knife in her hand made a cracking sound, and several zombies fell down one after another. Fong Nan had been paying attention to the direction of the silver treasure chest, and did not notice that Poison Island Tsubasa got out of the car, and after seeing the situation clearly, he jumped and landed on a clearing. At the moment of landing, the samurai sword in Fong Nan's hand bloomed with cold light, turned in a circle in the same place, and the sharp blade instantly cut the surrounding zombies in half. Zombies are constantly approaching, they can't fall into a protracted war, they must fight quickly. Fong Nan took a deep breath, his strength and physical strength had increased, but he couldn't stop the steady stream of zombies pouring up, and he had to quickly get the silver treasure chest and leave. Toward the refreshed sight, Fong Nan crossed the second lane and looked at the positioning in his eyes. He suddenly looked up, his eyes locked tightly on the white frozen truck in front of him. On the roof of the car, a treasure chest with a flashing white light appeared there. Found it! Fong Nan was overjoyed, his legs accelerated along the trend, and he stomped on the truck tires and jumped on the top of the truck. If anyone sees this scene, it will inevitably frighten the jaw, because the height of this truck is at least 3 meters or more, and to jump on the roof of the frozen carriage in one step, it is definitely not the physical quality that normal humans can have. Open? After Fong Nan jumped on the top of the freezer compartment, he immediately came to the silver treasure chest, and the option to open it also emerged. Open! Ding! The silver chest opened successfully. Gain 500 boost points, primary stamina potion x3, primary strength potion x3, primary endurance potion x2. Ding! Saved to the system repository. The continuous system prompt made Fong Nan can't help but breathe a sigh of relief. The gunfire behind him became more and more intense. Don't think much about it, it must be Poison Island Tsunako and Nakoka Asami who fell into a bitter battle. After Fong Nan obtained the first silver treasure chest, the positioning in the center of the line of sight appeared, which was the refresh location of the second silver treasure. However, when he saw the second refresh location, Fong Nan was stunned. Huh? The first and second refresh locations are the same, but there is no shadow of a treasure chest here? Fong Nan hesitated slightly, got up and looked around. The line of sight was full of zombies and abandoned vehicles, not to mention the treasure chest with a shimmer. It was not a clean place, but saw that around the frozen car, dozens of zombies had been surrounded, and the number was constantly increasing. It won't be the system that's pitting me, will it? He looked at the sky, and the sky was empty, and under his feet was the frozen carriage of the frozen car. Wait. No, it won't. Fong Nan looked at the frozen carriage under his feet, his brow could not help but frown deeply, and then he pedaled a few times with his feet, and the container immediately made a bang sound. It's empty. Is this second silver chest just below here? Forget it, drain all the impossibilities, and the rest, even if they are impossible, are possible. Fong Nan gritted his teeth, raised his samurai sword and aimed his katana at the frozen carriage under his feet to take several knives. 1 knife, 2 knives, 3 knives. The frozen carriage was not thick iron, it was instantly cut open a few openings, becoming much more vulnerable. Fong Nan's brow frowned slightly, but he quickly unfolded, aimed at the place where several marks were opened, and jumped down. Boom! The frozen carriage was kicked open by Fong Nan with an irregular opening. The inside of the carriage was empty, and sure enough, after Fong Nan came down, what came into view was the silver treasure chest of the heart. The second silver chest is really here. Fong Nan was lightly relieved, and hurriedly walked to the front of the treasure chest and opened the treasure chest. The steps were the same as before, almost in the blink of an eye, Fong Nan collected the treasure silver. The rewards are also deposited in the system repository, and the silver chest disappears here. Bang! At this moment, there was a sudden explosion outside, a huge tremor, and even the freezer car where Fong Nan was located was affected. Well? Fong Nan frowned, looked up, and immediately jumped back on the roof of the car. Looking up, at this time Poison Island Tsunako and Nakoka Asami had fallen into a bitter battle. Countless zombies were surrounding the SUV. However, Asami Nakoka on the roof of the car is fine, that is, Poison Island Tsukiko, who is holding a wooden knife outside, is in a very bad situation. In order to take these 2 treasure chests, it is really a special thrill. Fong Nan took a deep breath, then scolded darkly, and rushed in the direction of the SUV. Poison Island classmate, you are about to return to the car, there are too many zombies around. Asami Nakoka, who was shooting with a rifle on the roof of the car, shouted at Tsunako Poison Island. At this time, there were a few blood stains on the school uniform washed by Poison Island Tsunako, all of which were stained by killing those zombies. However, the number of zombies was too much, although she also got a double increase in strength and physical strength, but the battle consumption, far from the natural recovery to keep up, in just over a minute, Poison Island was surrounded by a large number of zombies. Moreover, at such a close distance, Asami Nakoka was not good at using ranged weapons such as bombs. For fear of accidentally injuring Poison Island Tsunako, she could only use a rifle to minimize the pressure. Hurry back to the car. Just when Poison Island Tsunako's physical strength was depleted and he felt that he could not support it, a familiar voice came over. Hearing this voice, both Poison Island and Asami Nakoka were inexplicably relieved in their hearts, and immediately looked for the sound. Fong Nan. In the sight of the two women, Fong Nan jumped a few times on the roof of those cars, and then quickly rushed over. The samurai sword in his hand turned into an icy cold light, several horizontal splits fell vertically, and the surrounding zombies fell continuously. In the flesh and blood, a thin figure erupted with incredible power, and under the gaze of the two women, it was forced to kill a bloody path from the zombie horde. Poison Island Tsunako can still maintain her composure, and has long been mentally prepared, but it is the first time that Nakoka Asami saw such a domineering and powerful Fong Nan, and she couldn't help but be shocked, and her pupils slowly dilated. Fong Nan jumped forward, the samurai sword was folded around his waist, watching the zombie in front of him suddenly withdraw, the strong force swung the blade, bringing up a cold edge, the zombies at close range, all of them were separated in an instant. It didn't take long for him to kill Poison Island and join him. Didn't I make you wait in the car? Fong Nan stood there. Poison Island Tsunako was very tacit, put his back on it, and the two of them looked at each other. Listening to Fong Nan's 5 points of anger and 5 points of concern, Poison Island Squirrel pursed his lips, and there was a faint red halo on his white face. She did not answer Fong Nan, but just kept waving the wooden knife in her hand. Fong Nan saw that she did not speak, although she could not understand the thinking of the student sister, but at the moment, there was no time for the two to argue. Although there were many zombies around, and a steady stream of them gathered, with the addition of Fong Nan, the pressure of the Poison Island was suddenly reduced. In this way, the two slowly moved towards the door of the SUV, and waited until they returned to the car to end the thrilling battle. Episode 42. The zombies outside the barbed wire glass slammed the body of the car, and although there were many zombies around, they only made the SUV shake slightly, and seeing this, Poison Island and Asami Nakoka were relieved. Sit tight. Back on the car of Fong Nan, immediately started the SUV, only to hear a huge engine sound from the front of the SUV. As Fong Nan's throttle kicked down, the three of them once again felt the violent performance of this battlefield monster. Boom! The 4 tires of the SUV turn extremely fast, the front direction of the car is adjusted, knocking down the zombies on both sides, and then the throttle is given. The SUV is like a horse without reins, and the zombies that were originally in front of the car have fallen backwards, constantly making the muffled sound of crashing down the body and being crushed. Rush out. Fong Nan breathed a sigh of relief. The number of zombies surrounding the SUV is about 100 or more. Fortunately, the SUV's horsepower is strong enough to rush out of such a siege, otherwise it will be replaced by a general off-road vehicle. I am afraid that it will be stuck in the chassis and cannot move. The eyes of Poison Island Tsukiko and Asami Nakoka were also a surprise, although they knew that this car was very powerful, but they did not expect that the power of this car would be so terrible, and they could not help but feel that their sense of security was rapidly improved. System, give me immediate access to primary stamina potions, primary strength potions, and primary endurance potions. After leaving the group of zombies in the back, Fong Nan immediately used a copy of the potions in the system warehouse. After all, the more powerful he was, the greater the chance of survival, so there was no need to hold on. Ding. Successful with primary strength potion, plus 10, ding. Successful with primary stamina potion, plus 10, ding. Successful with primary endurance potion, plus 20. One after another system prompts sounded. Fong Nan only felt that his body was warm, not at all like when the Poison Island was used. There was such a big reaction, Fong Nan estimated. It may be that his physical fitness is relatively strong, so the reaction is so small. But soon, Fong Nan realized that something was wrong, and immediately called up his own attribute value to check it up. You know, the primary potion was used before, it was increased by 20 points, but now, how to add 10 attribute values? Host, Fong Nan. Identity, Tingmei School Exchange Student. Strength, 72. Stamina, 69. Endurance, 32. Neural Response, 31. Skill, Izumi Kendo, Intermediate. Simple information instantly appeared in Fong Nan's line of sight, which added an extra endurance, and all the data was clear at a glance. System, am I mistaken for my attributes? Fong Nan glanced at his own strength attribute, and sure enough, it was about 10 points less. Ding. Remind the host that the effect of the primary agent will gradually weaken during multiple uses until it fails. Please understand the host. That is to say, this time the primary strength potion gave me an increase of 10 points, and the next time I use it, it may be 5 points, or even completely invalid. Yes, host. Hearing the words of the system, Fong Nan was a little speechless. Regarding the primary strength potion, he had indeed improved many times, but how could he say it now? Fortunately, he still had 2 bottles of primary strength potion that had not been used, otherwise, it was really a loss to his grandmother's family. The good mood just now was suddenly destroyed without a trace. Moreover, the effect of the primary potion was greatly weakened, so how could he improve his strength in the future? Just when Fong Nan frowned, the crisp sound of the system sounded in his ears again. Ding. Friendly reminder, this system is a reinforcement system, and the potion is only a foreign object after all. Potions are foreign objects. Fong Nan winced slightly, and then a glimmer of light flashed in his eyes. System, do you mean that the enhancement point can not only strengthen the item, but also strengthen me? Yes, the host can consume booster points to strengthen itself. Sure enough. Fong Nan's eyes flashed a trace of ecstasy. The direction of my strengthening is not only all kinds of potions, the use of strengthening points. Strengthening my body is the most important, so I have some upside down before. Fong Nan shook his head. After all, at the beginning, because of the generous reward of the silver treasure chest and the immediate effect of the primary potion, he thought that was his direction of improvement. Until now, he understood that the real core of the system was the word strengthening. Then now in the system warehouse, there are still 2 primary strength potions, and primary stamina potions, but this endurance potion is a little less, so I got 2. Fong Nan called out of the system warehouse to check it out. He wanted to use all the potions, but due to the limitations of the medicinal effects, he could not use them, and the only way not to waste them was to use them for others. After thinking about it in his mind, the Poison Island Tsukiko and Asami Nikoka in the car were 2 in total, giving each of them a primary strength potion, and for the sake of fairness, the rest of themselves were used, and the endurance was still effective anyway. That's it. Fong Nan first used the endurance potion to increase the attribute of endurance to 52, and Fong Nan also obviously felt that the surging energy in his body and the physical strength he had just consumed were also instantly restored. After doing all this, Fong Nan pretended to take out the last 2 primary strength potions from his pocket. You have taken this potion, it will increase your strength. Fong Nan gave a brief explanation to the 2 of them, and then handed the 2 potions to the hands of Poison Island squirrels. Poison Island and Asami Nikoka suddenly heard Fong Nan's words, looked at the glass rod, the pale pink liquid. Poison Island Tsunako was not surprised, picked up one of them. After distributing it to Asami Nikoka, she opened the bottle cap and drank it with her head up. The whole process, without even asking, was simply calm and terrible, or rather, the trust in the other side was simply incredible. Poison Island Tsunako, who had taken the primary strength potion, quickly felt the abnormality of his body, but this time it was not as strong as the last time. But he also couldn't help but snort softly. His complexion was inexplicably red, and after everything had receded, Poison Island Tsunako looked at the car window with his face, and his body emitted the breath of not allowing anyone to enter. Asami Nikoka saw all this in her eyes. She had only talked about love once, and her face was hot. After all, the way Poison Island Tsukiko looked just now, it was really a little unhealthy. Seeing that Nikoka Asami was still hesitating, Fong Nan glanced at her through the rearview mirror. This potion can develop the potential of the human body, enhance the simple strength of the human body. There are no side effects, and it will certainly not be a drug or the like, you can rest assured. In fact, I don't have much of this drug, Fong Nan said, and finally left a hard eye, saying that he did not have much, that is, to prove that there were still some, but very few. He is also preparing for the future, since the potion can be used by others, and the primary potion is improving slightly on himself. Then he can consider giving to Kagi-saya or Kigawa Shizuka a few of them in the future. The stronger the people in his small team, the more secure his future life will be. Oh, is that so? Asami Nikoka looked at the potion in her hand with a look of surprise on her face. She thought for 2 seconds, then opened the cap of the bottle and drank the potion. The effect of the potion was also immediate, and the moment Asami Nikoka drank it, she sensed a wonderful feeling that flowed in her body, and gradually, this feeling turned into a hot stream, which condensed in the lower abdomen and then spread to the blood vessels throughout the body. Ah! Asami Nikoka hugged her body, clenched her teeth and snorted softly, her face getting more and more rosy, as if she was unable to support her body, and she lay down on the back chair. Episode 43. The hot feeling pervaded her whole body. Asami Nakoka shook her teeth tightly. A pair of Dan Phoenix eyes stared at a certain teenager in front of her. Her heart was extremely ashamed. She had just seen the reaction of Poison Island Tsunako, but it was not as strong as her own. Ah. Fong Nan, who was driving, heard the sound of this foul, and his whole body subconsciously shook, and at the same time, his heart was speechless. This reaction is really more intense than one. It was also quite embarrassing, and it seemed that in the future, I would have to be careful if I used the potion for Takagi Saya and Shizuka Jugawa. Gradually, the fierce feeling receded, and Nakoka's smooth forehead was full of fine beads of sweat, and the neckline had just accidentally ripped open a few. What kind of broken potion is this, and how can there be such a reaction? Asami Nakoka was extremely ashamed in her heart, and after straightening her body, she looked down at her clothes, and the next second, she seemed to have some sense and immediately raised her head, and her eyes locked on the rearview mirror in the middle, and she cleverly aligned her eyes with a line of sight. Fong Nan was driving, and it happened that at this time, he wanted to see the situation of Asami Nakoka through the rearview mirror, and who knew that he saw this scene? It's so big. It's so white. Fong Nan couldn't help but emerge these 4 words in his heart, and then calmly looked away, and his plain eyes revealed a look of what is good to see, as if the person who had just peeked it was not him. Fong Nan is really H. Asami Nakoka's pretty face was almost red, and she quickly lowered her head and sorted out the small whisper of resentment at the neckline. The co-pilot's Poison Island Tsubasa also glanced at Fong Nan with an inexplicable gaze, but did not say anything, showing a look that I understand very well, and I understand your attitude. H. Fong Nan rolled his eyes. I just took a look, he didn't move anything. My strength. Wow, this potion is also too amazing. I really feel that my strength seems to have soared a lot. Fong Nan classmate, what kind of potion is this? It actually has such a magical effect. After sorting out her clothes, Asami Nakoka was only aware of it at this time, feeling the surging force coming from her body, and she felt that her strength was now twice as much as before. The most obvious sense is that she can feel that the rifle in her hand is much lighter, and this is obviously not that the rifle is really light, but that her strength has become larger. Such a magical potion made Asami Nakoka have great doubts. This potion is not much, and it is very rare, so don't ask too much. Fong Nan's tone carried a hint of impersonal feeling, and his eyes were flat. Obviously he didn't want to explain too much. Asami Nakoka skimmed her lips. She understood the meaning of Fong Nan's words, so she had to bury the question in her heart, and in addition to being happy, she went to ask Poison Island Tsunako how she felt. The answer, of course, is also a lot of strength. Don't look at Nakoka. Asami is the oldest, is an adult, but in front of the overly precocious Poison Island Tsunako, she is like a child. At this time, Fong Nan's 3 people had already crossed the most of the viaduct, and in front of the domineering SUV, all the way was smooth, there was no accident, but the guinea pigs who explored the way in front of them suffered heavy losses. Because, at this time, they had already lost an off-road vehicle, with 5 people outside, and for some reason, the off-road vehicle was actually inserted from the emergency road directly into the left lane, colliding with the clogged cars, and then being completely overwhelmed by a group of zombies. Fong Nan, who was closely behind, saw this scene. There was no change in his face, as if he didn't see it. At this time, his mind was sinking into his body, and the system was inquiring. System, I want to strengthen myself. Do I need any prerequisites? Ding. The enhancement system strengthens items and life forms without any prerequisites, only enough enhancement points. The system's reply was quick, and after Fong Nan got the explanation, he nodded unconsciously, and then looked at his own reinforcement point. Enhancement point, 3,471. The 2 silver chests have a reward of 1,500 enhancement points, and the rest are accumulated by Fong Nan. With a height of 4 figures, Fong Nan had expected it in his heart. After all, there were many zombies killed by bombs on this road, and there were also people who crashed, rolled, and crushed him with his car, although the number was not as good as that of the bomb, but it was not less. To be able to reach 4 figures is absolutely appropriate. However, even if he knew it for a long time, he still couldn't help but get a little excited. After all, the first time he got so many reinforcement points, compared to before, the strengthening points of the strengthening SUV were small problems, and it was not worth mentioning at all. I want to strengthen myself once. How many reinforcement points do I need? With the experience of the SUV, Fong Nan did not have so much confidence in his own strengthening point in his early 2000. At least he was mentally prepared to be cut in half again. Ding. The first time to strengthen the host body, 2,000 reinforcement points are required. Is it strengthened? It was still such a cold and ruthless voice, and the words spoken were so cold and merciless. Crouch. Trough. 2,000. Fong Nan took a deep breath and tried to make his performance a quality point. I thought that it only needed half of it, and it was almost the same, and it was not bad. 1002 like this. He did not think about it, but 2000 was really frightened. If this shot is strengthened, then he will have more than 1,000 points left. Direct loss of more than half. This price is also too expensive. 2000. Fong Nan only hesitated for a moment, gritted his teeth and made up his mind. 2000 is 2000, the system gives me a reinforcement. Ding. Strengthen the host ontology. As the sound of the system sounded, in an instant, Fong Nan's eyes narrowed, and the hand holding the steering wheel also inexplicably forced up, and the joints were scratched white, and with the body's desire for a lot of oxygen, he began to breathe deeply. I knew it, so I waited for the bridge to be strengthened. He really didn't expect that this feeling of strengthening once was actually more intense than the use of the potion. Fong Nan clenched his teeth, and the abnormality of his body made the muscles of his whole body tense up irrepressibly, and the expression on his face was exceptionally stiff. At this moment, Fong Nan's body was undergoing tremendous changes. An inexplicable energy suddenly penetrated into the body, which was like a strong flame, igniting the cells of his whole body, as if boiling hot water. Episode 44, Hiss. It feels a bit head-scratchy. Fong Nan inhaled a cool breath in his heart, and at the moment of strengthening, the blood in his body seemed to be boiling, and the muscles of his whole body unconsciously tensed up. This feeling was much stronger than the use of medicine. If it were not for his self-control and good physique, I am afraid that he would have been unconscious a long time ago, resulting in the destruction of the car and the death of people. Fong Nan's strange appearance was noticed by Poison Island Tsukiko and Asami Nakoka in the car. Brother Fong Nan, you injured? Poison Island Tsukiko originally wanted to say if she had been bitten, but still hesitated for a moment and did not say anything. The amount. There is a lot of sweat on your head, Fong Nan classmate, are you sick? As an adult, Nakoka Izumi thinks of being sick, and Fong Nan's state at this time is indeed similar to that of fever. Fong Nan gritted his teeth and didn't want to speak, or rather, he couldn't speak. His body was like a furnace, and as soon as he opened his mouth, he was afraid that the tight line would break. Ding. Enhancement complete. The next second, the system prompt sounded. Fong Nan instinctively exhaled a mouthful of turbid breath, and the tense body was completely relaxed. Fortunately, driving did not require much energy, otherwise there was really a danger of overturning. The total duration is about 15 seconds. Fong Nan thought silently in his heart. From the strengthening to the end, he had been counting the time. This painful 15 seconds was not long, it was not short. In short, he could no longer strengthen in this situation. I'm fine, just a little low blood sugar, just drink something. Fong Nan shook his head, casually made a clumsy excuse to fool around, and then asked Asami Nakoka to give him a carton of strawberry milk. After the reinforcement just now, he was really a little dry-mouthed. Alright, seeing that Fong Nan was reluctant to say more, Poison Island Tsukiko and Nakoka Asami could only nod, but still left a hard eye, afraid that Fong Nan would have a similar situation. System, view the properties panel. Ding. Host, Fong Nan. Identity, Tingmei School Exchange Student. Strength, 122, Stamina, 129. Endurance, 102. Nerve response, 81, Pentasensory plus 10, Vehicle additional attributes. Physique strength, 50, Metabolism, 50. Skill, Izumi Kendo, intermediate. The newly enhanced attribute panel appeared in Fong Nan's line of sight, and the amazing triple digits shocked Fong Nan even more. If there was no one next to him, I am afraid that he would have shouted a long time ago. You know, before that, the strength value was only 72, and now it has increased to a staggering 122 points, which is a full increase of 50 points. Not only the strength attributes, but also the enhanced attribute values of physical strength, nerve response, and endurance have all been improved by 50 points, and even some that have never been seen before, which is the most shocking place. That is to say, the current Fong Nan is at least twice as strong as his previous self. Even if he does not use weapons, he may not be able to tear the zombies by hand. This is also too strong, not to lose the result of spending 2,000 enhancement points, and the overall attribute has increased by 50 points. Fong Nan's eyes were faintly shining with excitement, and his heart was surging with blood, and he was a bit on the spot to stop and dry the urge to overturn the zombies on the entire bridge. He felt as if the whole world had changed, much more fragile and smaller. System, this physical strength and metabolism, specifically to which aspect? In addition to the excitement, Fong Nan did not forget the newly appeared numerical terms, and the other ones that were not difficult to understand. That is, there were two of them. Was it a little too general? Ding. Physique strength. This data standard includes the host's bone density, muscle strength, internal organ strength, vascular strength, vision, hearing, and smell. It is calculated by taking its average. Ding. Metabolism. This data criterion includes the rate of host mental recovery, the rate of physical recovery, the rate of cell regeneration, the pressure of the heart. It is calculated by taking its average. In this way, I didn't expect this enhancement effect to be so overbearing. This is not comparable to the potion. This is to evolve me in the direction of Superman in one breath. I just don't know how fast the metabolism of these 50 points can be restored. Fong Nan thought. His mind couldn't help but jump out of a certain science fiction movie, A Mean Guy, but quickly shook his head again, thinking that he thought too much. That kind of perverted immortal regeneration ability, definitely not spending 2,000 reinforcement points can do, otherwise it would be too cheap. It seems that you have to find a chance to experiment. Brother Fong Nan, those people in front of you seem to have encountered some situation. They stop. Just as Fong Nan was wandering, the calm voice of Poison Island Tsubasa slowly came over, and finally, with a little surprised tone. Fong Nan heard the words and returned to his senses, looking ahead and fixing his eyes. After all aspects of strengthening, his vision was close to the limit of human beings, and things from 100 meters away could be seen very clearly. Huh? And really, and several cars crashed together. Fong Nan saw very really, the last bus directly hit the front 4 off-road vehicles. 7 or 8 crooked two-way emergency passage are blocked. The most important thing is that they are also surrounded by a large number of zombies. Gunshots kept coming, the fire flickered, and more than a dozen figures moved quickly to dodge in the zombie horde, simply chaotic. It is desperate that obviously there are still 100 meters to cross the bridge, but such an unfortunate thing happens. Seeing this situation, Fong Nan did not care much. Along the way, Fong Nan's control of the SUV has given him a psychological estimate. Even if the front few cars are all blocked, the SUV can still violently rush through the pass. Damn. Damn. As the boss, Oshima Zo roared angrily, holding a short knife and pistol in his hand. His face was full of anger. At this time he was covered in blood, except for his forehead, all of which were killed by zombies, compared to his men, who were not much better. But the most tragic thing was the group of students led by Koichi Wisteria on the bus, because there were no weapons, and these people were almost indistinguishable from the lambs to be slaughtered. Just 2 minutes ago, they saw the bridgehead, and the dawn seemed to shine in at this moment, and the crowd unconsciously breathed a sigh of relief. But at this moment, an obese zombie about 2 meters tall rushed out of the left lane, and coincidentally, it stood in the middle of the emergency passage. The zombie was covered in fat flesh and had a lot of black blood flowing all over his body, and it looked as if he had been a sumo wrestler before he was born. Episode 45. Such a frightening scene made Oshima Sasa and his party almost pee out. If it were not for Oshima Sasa's calmness, I am afraid that these people would have been in disarray long ago. When Oshima saw the sumo wrestler, he was also shocked, but soon after the shock, he directly ordered the second-in-command to crash at full speed. Anyway, it was impossible to retreat, and he could only crash into it. Crash through at full speed, maybe knock this guy into a smash. In fact, as he said, the sumo wrestler stood there stupidly and was directly knocked into the air, and his body split in half in an instant, but the huge force also made Oshima's vehicle lose control, knocking down the steel on the edge of the bridge, and the back did not need to say, and the brakes did not come up in time. So there is this situation, although they are still alive, but with the large number of zombies around them, they are not long alive. Protrusions. The next second, dense gunfire soon rang out. Hold me back, you bastards. Oshima had managed to climb to the roof of a car and was able to catch his breath for a moment, but in the blink of an eye, he saw that his little brother was quite far away from him, and 4 or 5 people were piled up on the roof of other vehicles, and he was the only one, and he couldn't help but be angry and afraid. A few little brothers with submachine guns were more fierce, standing on a van, constantly shooting with guns, but with the accumulation of corpses next to the car, the later zombies stood on the piled corpses and climbed up. The consequences can be imagined. These people are gone. There are also some people who are lucky, that is, on the bus. The bus hadn't been overturned yet, but it couldn't be driven, and thankfully there were still a few people with guns on the bus, otherwise Koichi Wisteria and the other students would have died here. At this time, Koichi Wisteria was also very scared. Just like the zombie crisis had just broken out yesterday, everything in front of him was chaotic. The screams of the students were buzzing in his ears. He was extremely irritable, and he was eager to kill the students directly. Koichi Wisteria went to the back of the car and hid behind a chair, hoping not to be discovered by the zombies, still expecting Oshima's gang to resolve the crisis. However, he was disappointed, and the next moment, a desperate news came. Guns, no more bullets. Bastards. It's all the assholes in the back. They're all responsible. Oshima got the news, and his small eyes stared dead behind the wide black SUV. The whites of his eyes were covered with not like red blood, and his face was hideous and terrible. Ah. Don't come here. Don't pull me, save me. Save. Poof. At this time, many people were dragged to the ground by the zombies around them to eat, screaming one after another, and the scalps of those who listened were straight and numb. These people have also seen a lot of bloody pictures, but looking at the partners who were still fighting side by side 1 second, the next moment they were eaten into rotten meat, and they were not afraid of being scared that it was fake. No matter how fierce people are, there are times when they are afraid. And on the bus, Koichi Wisteria, revealing ahead, quietly observed the situation outside. Though security company were constantly being pounced on by the zombies, the number of people suddenly plummeted to only 5 people, of which Oshima Sasuke's pupils were bloodshot staring at the rear, completely ignoring the zombies around him and about to climb into the van. When Wistaro Hiroshi saw this scene, he knew that Oshima Sasuke was unreliable, but soon, he thought of a glimmer of survival. He thought of the people who were counting them, whether the other party was capable of coping with the situation here or not, but there was no doubt that if he could get the help of the people in the car behind him, he would definitely live a little longer. Thinking of this, he gritted his teeth fiercely, glanced at the 3 men and 2 women trembling students next to him, changed his eager expression, and shouted to them, "Quick! There was a car in the back, jumping down from here, and we ran to the back to ask for their help." With this cry, these 5 students who were still so naive immediately burst into hope in their eyes. "Quick! Come on, police! Surely the police are coming. I don't want to be eaten. I don't want to be eaten." The 3 men and 2 women were in a trance, got up and looked back, and sure enough, they saw the SUV getting closer and closer, and then without saying a word, they all jumped out of the last window. However, they just jumped down to find that they were surrounded by zombies. No. 5 students jumped down and did not run a few steps, and the 2 girls were accidentally bitten by the zombies, one biting into the neck and one biting into the thigh. Bright red blood that was about to turn black spurted out of their snow-white skin in an instant, and the scene was miserable, and the zombies around them all gathered around to share this sumptuous meal. In the end, only 3 male classmates ran fast, luckily dodged, and there were not so many zombies in front of them. "Stupid children, your only value is to pave the way for me to escape and attract these monsters." When Koichi Wisteria, who was still in the car, saw this scene, the corners of his mouth revealed a smile of conspiracy success, and then he also jumped down. It was just the zombies on the viaduct, but there was more than that, and some zombies noticed Koichi Wisteria, and the 3 running students, hula, followed up, not how fast, but gave people great nerve pressure. Etc. "Wait for me." Wisteria Hiroshi turned his head to look at it. The whole person was almost frightened of his legs, and he didn't care about any style and clothes, in short, how fast he ran hard, but he always overestimated his physical strength. Seeing the 3 youthful and energetic high school students in front of him running farther and farther, Koichi Wisteria became more and more panicked, but fortunately, 2 of the 3 high school students still had a conscience and came back to help him up. "How are you, Wisteria teacher?" "Wisteria teacher, you're all right, let's run." Bang! The 2 male classmates said words of concern while holding up Koichi Wisteria, but the next second, they were held by Koichi Wisteria, who had just stood up, and pointed a stone at the eye. Suddenly, the 2 male students covered their heads and shouted, blood flowing from the cracks of their fingers covering their eyes, and at this moment, the light disappeared from their world in an instant, leaving only the roar and trepidation of the whistling zombies in their ears. "Huh. Hard work for 2 classmates." Wisteria Hiroshi sneered, immediately pulled out his leg and ran, and the zombies who were ready to catch up, when they encountered the 2 invisible male classmates, naturally opened their mouths and pounced on it, and Wisteria Hiroshi took the opportunity to run farther and farther. This scene happened to be watched by the 3 Fongnan people who were getting closer and closer. Episode 46, Bastards. Is he really a teacher? He actually used his students as bait. The most fierce reaction was none other than Asami Nakoka, who was a policeman, who watched this scene the whole time, although she did not see it very clearly in the section before jumping out of the car, but the scene where Koichi Wistaro attacked the student was really seen by her, and she was eager to take out a gun and kill him directly. What you want to teach him is that there is an opportunity, and it depends on what you can't do. Fongnan chuckled lightly and looked at the only student who ran in front of him, and Koichi Wisteria, with an inexplicable glow in his dark pupils. Fudo Koichi's purpose, Fongnan saw through at a glance. It was nothing more than wanting to run to him for help, but he didn't know that his wish was doomed to failure. The 2 dead students did not delay for too long, and the zombies caught up again. Koichi Wisteria ran, staring dead at the student who had not come to save him, and evil thoughts surfaced again. However, before Wisteria Hiroshi could move, next to the driveway, several zombies suddenly rushed out, and the male classmate did not react in time and was directly bitten into the arm. Ah! The male students shouted a few times, and the rest of the zombies surrounded him and directly devoured him alive. When Wisteria Hiroichi saw this scene, his heart was relieved. His heart was not sad, but he felt very happy. Who let this guy just did not come to save himself. Deserve. Wisteria Hiroshi ran over the zombies that were eating with a whiff of heart, and seeing that it was getting closer and closer to the SUV, he immediately sorted out his emotions and thought about the wording. When the three of them were about to come, Oshima Sasa was the only one left at this time. And he was also full of despair, staring at the zombie horde standing in front of him. Oh, even if I want to die, I will pull you monsters to die together. Woohoo. Whoops. Crunch. There were at least 200 of these zombie groups, all on the viaduct, and they were all surrounded by this time, gradually converging towards Oshimaza. Soon, Oshima Sasuke was captured by a zombie. Haha. Let's die monsters together. At this time, instead of being afraid, Oshima laughed, and in his hand, 2 explosive grenades had been pulled open. Boom, with a bang, the grenade exploded. In an instant, the van and the more than 200 zombies around them were all blasted open by a huge energy, and countless pieces of rotten flesh shot onto the ground or on the surrounding objects, and an extremely strong smell of decay spread out. Fong Nan also heard the explosion. He looked up at the billowing smoke in front of him, and the katana was placed next to him, ready to prevent unpredictable events. Unexpectedly, they not only had guns, but also bombs. Asami Nakoka gritted her teeth and said that before the last days, she had not investigated Oshima's security community, and had long suspected that Oshimaza was secretly hiding a gun, but because Oshima's old treacherous monster had not been able to get substantive evidence. Yeah, but that's probably their limit. Fong Nan said lightly that being forced to use weapons such as bombs to such a point must have reached a very desperate situation. Meanwhile, Koichi Wisteria also heard the explosion, but he didn't dare to turn back at all, for fear that if he delayed for a second, he would be pounced on by the zombies behind him. Fong Nan drove the SUV and slowly came to Koichi Wisteria's body, deliberately reducing the speed of the car and stopping at a distance of about 5 meters from him. As soon as Wisteria Hiroshi saw this scene, before he could catch his breath, the huge surprise made his face turn red, and he subconsciously thought that he had been saved. Excited, he swallowed several mouthfuls of saliva before he said, "Sir, help. There are a lot of monsters ahead, and my partners are all eaten by those monsters, please." Wisteria Hiroichi spoke with a look of pain and dedication, and even forced a few tears out of the corners of his eyes, which looked really miserable. Because after the SUV upgrade, the outside cannot see the situation inside the car, so whether it is a man or a woman, Wistero Koichi will directly open his mouth. If he sees Fong Nan and Poison Island Tsunako, are the school uniforms of Tingmei Garden, it is estimated that it is not this attitude. Fart. He was no more than halfway through when a stern rebuke interrupted him mercilessly. Shido Koichi looked up, only to see the roof of the SUV, drilling out a young woman with a good face, short brown hair gently skimmed behind her ears, a few strands of disobedient hair, unfettered with the wind, invisibly, adding a hint of seductive intellectuality to the woman, the light blue uniform on the upper body, fitting wrapped around her not cheap capital, on both sides of the shoulders, there are epaulets representing her identity. Although only the upper body is seen, it cannot be denied that this young woman is definitely a heroic and beautiful woman. Even Koichi Wisteria is somewhat stunning, but the woman's expression is destroying this beauty. It's the police officer. Koichi Wisteria was ecstatic. Since the identity of the other party is a police officer, the probability of his own salvation is even greater, so he does not care why the female policewoman has such a bad attitude towards him, but he is somewhat happy. This officer. Scum, you get me out of here. You are not welcome. Asami Nakoka's face was slightly cold, and he really wanted to get off the car and personally kill Koichi Wisteria. How could there be such a despicable and vicious teacher? Miss Police Officer, I think you misunderstood me. I am a teacher at the private Tingmei school. When the disaster occurred, I desperately fled with my students, but unfortunately only I came here, and protecting civilians is not the intellectual duty of the police? I hope Miss Officer can give me protection, and I believe that when the world is restored to peace, Miss Officer and I will definitely become good friends. Wisteria Hiroshi was stunned for a moment, trying to maintain his demeanor and rationality, but the zombies behind him were getting closer and closer, and he also began to panic, trying to use the identity of Asami Nakoka to seek protection for himself. However, Asami Nakoka's answer was very clear and crisp. Bang! A gunshot rang out without warning. Wisteria felt a sharp pain in the calf of his left foot, and then a warm current slowly flowed down his skin, quickly soaking his thigh. On the SUV, Asami Nakoka's straight waist bar is like a javelin, and her right arm is straight to hold a pistol, and the muzzle of the pistol is now emitting a white smoke that is about to disappear. Apparently, that shot was fired by Asami Nakoka. Episode 48, Leaving the Dying Man Behind, Fong Nan stared ahead. The most urgent thing is how to pass through the lane blocked by 5 cars, which is the right thing to do. He just took a moment to look at the blockage situation. It is indeed more complicated. If you directly drive the SUV at full speed, it is no problem, but the cost of doing so will definitely make the SUV loss estimated to be not small, not worth it, so Fong Nan directly gave up this method. Classmate Fong Nan, how are we going to get over? The road was blocked by Ashimesa's guys' cars, and they were about to cross the Newbird Viaduct. Asami Nakoka probed half of her body, not caring at all that her own capital had rubbed into Fong Nan, or that there was no such self-consciousness at all. Anyway, Fong Nan would not open her mouth to remind. Poison Island Tsunako is also frowning. She is good at kendo, but this situation cannot be solved by 1 or 2 people with swords. There is no other way but to forcibly blow up a road. Fong Nan shrugged and said, if there is really no way, this is indeed the next strategy. Explode? Asami Nakoka was stunned, and it seemed that this method was not bad. But are the bombs we searched at the police station so powerful? At this time, Poison Island Tsunako spoke, blowing up this method. She did not think about it, but the power of grenades and time bombs was not enough to blow up those cars, and it was even possible to block it even more. Fong Nan smiled hesitantly. Don't you know if you try it? The grenades and time bombs in the police station are all aimed at dense crowds and used in combat in the city, and they are not too powerful, but you know, just now Fong Nan is in the second silver treasure chest, but he has obtained a powerful C4 bomb. And it's an enhanced version. He didn't believe it, so he couldn't blow up those broken cars. At that moment, Fong Nan did not delay the time, directly got up to the back row, opened the skylight. This time he climbed directly to the roof of the car. The whole person stood on the top of the viaduct scenery. It's miserable enough. After Fong Nan came up, he saw the tragic situation of Oshima Sasa's group of people, all destroyed, and they were being eaten, which was their retribution. The Poison Island Tsunako and Asami Nakoka in the car did not think of other ways. Seeing that Fong Nan was so confident, he could only wait for the good news in the car. However, how many should I take? After all, the power of the C4 bomb is not bad, far from the grenade these throws can be compared. If you take more, I am afraid that even this bridge can blow out a hole, then it will really be a dilemma. 2 should be pretty much it. Fong Nan glanced at the system warehouse, his mind moved, and 2 more C4 bombs immediately appeared on his hands. These bombs were all enhanced in terms of lethality, and their power was more violent than normal C4. The C4 bomb is a compound type of bomb. Once detonated, it will concentrate the compression energy in a small range, and a chemical reaction will occur in an instant, and the detonator will rapidly expand the fiery gas, causing a violent impact. At this time, Fong Nan was holding this kind of bomb in his hand, and above the rectangular dark detonator, there was a timing device tied to it, several red, yellow and blue wires, connected to the detonator detonation device. Just in case, Fong Nan also told Asami Nakoka to wait for him to drop the bomb and then drive back more than 10 meters. He was afraid that the power would spread here. Asami Nakoka swore that there was no problem, and then excitedly sat in the driver's seat, and it was not difficult to see from her expression that she seemed to have been coveting this SUV for a long time, and among the 3, Fong Nan and she could drive, and Poison Island Tsunako was not yet old enough to go to school. Let's set it up for a minute. Fong Nan thought for a moment, and then he began to set up the timing device for the 2 C4 bombs in his hand. This bomb is powerful, portable, and relatively simple to set up. Fong Nan asked the system a few times, and then learned how to set it up. Drip. Drip. That's it. After the C4 bomb was set up at regular intervals, Fong Nan stood up, holding one each of them, and looked at the location of the traffic jam in front of him, about 70 or 80 meters away. So light. Weighing the weight of the bomb in his hand a few times, and then estimating the strength of his body that had now been strengthened, he almost doubled. He let out a slight sigh, and then his eyes froze. Get it on. As Fong Nan threw it gently, the 2 C4 bombs in his hand flew out one after another, and the Poison Island and Asami Nakoka in the car only saw 2 black shadow objects, flying from the roof of the car, forming a parabola in the air, and falling straight to the blocked position not far away. When the 2 saw this scene, they were a little surprised, and after seeing Fong Nan get off the roof of the car, Nakoka Asami couldn't help but turn around and ask, "Classmate Fong Nan, what bomb did you just throw? How does it feel different from what we collected?" "It's the same bomb, but I wrapped something around the outside, otherwise I can't throw it away, and if Miss Nakoka doesn't drive anymore, I think we'll be able to experience it later and watch the explosion up close. After Fong Nan came down from under the car, he heard Asami Nakoka's question. He wiped the blood of the zombie on the roof of the car on his hand, and opened his mouth unhurriedly. In fact, at this distance, the power of the C4 bomb cannot affect them, plus there is an armored tank general SUV, there is no need to worry, but Fong Nan is not sure how powerful the C4 bomb is after this strengthening. Oh yes, let's get back a little back. Hearing Fong Nan's words, Asami Nakoka reacted and began to drive backwards about 20 meters, and when they stopped, the time of 1 minute was almost up. The two C4 bombs landed right in the middle of the bus and the 4 SUV, and the surrounding zombies were piled up on top of corpses, and the stimulation of fresh flesh made them seem to have sanity. The fall of the two C4 bombs, like mud cows into the sea without alarm, the living corpses, attracted more and more zombies. This place zombies are piled up, at a glance all zombies. DD. The two C4 bombs lying quietly on the ground made a dripping sound one after another, which was the sound of the countdown. 5 seconds later. Boom! A fierce strong light suddenly emanated in front of Fong Nan's 3 people, like 2 small suns. At this moment, time seemed to slow down, reflecting the slow-moving zombie figures, followed by a huge roar, and 2 clusters of light spread until they surrounded all the vehicles. The next second, a strong sense of shock followed, and even the 3 Fong Nan people sitting in the car were clearly perceived. Episode 49, Rumble, Rumble. The roar shot straight into the sky, and the rumbling concussion was like an atomic bomb thrown into the lake. Fong Nan squinted. He knew that the enhanced version of the C4 bomb was very powerful, but he did not expect that it would be so good. He could not help but worry about whether this viaduct could withstand it, in case in the emergency lane, blowing up a hole. It was really sad. Saya. A strong wind swept around, accompanied by a not weak energy impact. Fong Nan heard the car metal colliding with each other, making a clanging sound, the 3 people sitting in the SUV, but they were not affected. After the explosion storm passed, Poison Island and Asami Nakoka opened their eyes. They did not have the perverted vision support of Fong Nan. The light of the explosion was too dazzling. That's it. Fong Nan looked at the mess in front of him. One of the 5 cars that had blocked the emergency lane before turned into a frame. The bus was directly smashed to pieces, and 3 cars were shocked by a huge shock wave, which flew out of the viaduct and fell into the river below. The ground is also pitch black, as if it was sprayed with black paint. On the left lane, there is also a blank area. The most eye-catching thing is that the ground has 2 cracked circles. If you guess correctly, it should be the landing point of the 2 C4 bombs, and the center of the explosion is also there. It is worth mentioning that the previous area was densely packed with zombies, but at this time, there was none. All of them were blown clean, and some corpses were turned to ashes under the sharp heat. Enhanced version of the C4 bomb, what a special cow. Fong Nan silently gave the system a thumbs up. In the future, this C4 bomb can become a big killer of his own, blast siege or something, that is not hand-to-hand. Fong Nan may thought about it, and the next second, the system's prompt sounded. Ding. Gain 332 boost points. Enhancement point, 1823. More than 300 enhancement points are recorded. Hearing this timely system prompt, Fong Nan's eyes were full of surprise, but he quickly thought about it, and his heart was full of pity. If only there were a little more zombies, so that you could brush more in one breath. After all, it was easy to throw a bomb, and simply harvest a large wave of enhancement points, so there are not many opportunities. If you do it yourself, more than 300 zombies will not die of exhaustion, but it will consume too much time. In the car, Asami Nakoka looked at the scene in front of her. A pair of mature Danfeng eyes widened. She saw such an exaggerated bomb for the first time. She couldn't help but grow her mouth. Well. What a power. There are such weapons in the arsenal of the police station, and those people in the Ministry of Government are not afraid of detonating the fire. This kind of powerful bomb is generally used on the battlefield, and this kind of bomb is too dangerous to put in the city. Poison Island Sunako is also full of serious openings. The power of the bomb, far beyond her imagination. Just at that moment, it actually made her shed a few drops of cold sweat, as if facing the nuclear bomb's visual sense. The 2 girls were shocked for a long time, and Fong Nan was caught up in the unfortunate thing that there were not enough zombies. The road is clear, let's hurry up. I don't know what happened to them in Gauching. Fong Nan woke up Asami Nakoka, who was still in a daze. At this time, Fong Nan was sitting in the back seat, and the driver of the SUV was Asami Nakoka. Huh? Oh. Asami Nakoka looked back and was about to change back when she saw Fong Nan wave her hand and signal for her to drive. No, you can drive next. You know 3 residential areas in New Bird County better than I do. Well, I just know where the building where your partner is, and you sit firmly. In this regard, Nakoka Asami was not a little polite, grasped the steering wheel. Under Fong Nan's surprised sight, a tonal operation, the SUV accelerated violently towards the opposite side of the bridge. Not. The strong feeling of pushing back made both Fong Nan and Poison Island Tsunako can't help but jump in their hearts, and quietly looked at the excited expression of Asami Oka in their eyes, and Fong Nan suddenly muttered something. Was this a bad decision made? Fong Nan silently pulled up his seatbelt, and the same was true of Poison Island. Sigh. The fast SUV was driving, passing through the area that was scorched black by the explosion. Asami Nakoka accelerated a lot, and Akata wanted to see the scene outside, who knew that the scene outside the car window was blurred. At the last 100 meters of distance, there were basically not many zombies, most of them were blown to ashes by C4, and in this way, the three of them finally rushed safely from the New Bird Viaduct, and they also harvested a lot. Huh? How come there are so few zombies in this area? As soon as she crossed the bridge, Asami Nakoka drove the SUV toward the waterfront building, but along the way, she didn't see a single zombie, and the quiet was a little strange. Fong Nan also noticed this phenomenon, but after thinking about what this place was, he was relieved, because he knew what the reason was. Takagi-sei's parents have established a base, with a good power. In the first time of the outbreak of the zombie crisis, Takagi-sei's parents, faster than many people, soon there was action, so the strange phenomenon of few zombies here is probably what Takagi-sei's parents did. Don't think about these bad things. Fong Nan relaxed his body in the back, just wanted to take out his mobile phone to call Takagi-sei. The mobile phone first rang by himself. In the view of the electricity display, it is Takagi-sei is not wrong. However, Fong Nan frowned a little. Gao Chengshi's phone will not come for no reason. The remaining possibility is. Or, they're caught. Or maybe they're in a critical situation. Neither of these two was what Fong Nan wanted to see. Is it Gao Cheng's classmate's phone? Poison Island Tsukiko, who noticed Fong Nan's expression, asked. Fong Nan nodded, then pressed the access button, praying in his heart that it was the latter. Hello Gao Cheng? Now we are catching up. Oh my god, is it Fong Nan's classmate? I'm Teacher Jugawa, so come here. The madman had already spotted the three of us, but fortunately we had guns in our hands, and they were a little frightened, and for a moment and a half they would not dare to come closer, but there were many of them, and presumably, they would not last long. The caller was Shizuka Jugawa, and at the moment her tone seemed urgent and low, supposedly in a place where it was inconvenient to make a sound. So are you alright? Fong Nan's eyes froze, the anger grew in his heart, and a murderous gas spread in the car, and both Poison Island and Asami Nakoka held their breath and listened. We were fine for the time being, thanks to Hirano's classmates. They were shocked with guns, otherwise the teacher would have almost been arrested by them. Shizuka Jugawa said grievously. Fong Nan was speechless. Think about it, with the charm level of Jugawa Shizuka, it is a bit uncontrollable for men, not to mention, those people have disregarded human nature and the law, they can do whatever they want. Seeing Jugawa Shizuka, how can there be no idea in that regard? What about Gao Cheng? How is she? Ignore the half-aggrieved, half-spoiled Shizuka Jugawa, but wonder what happened to the guy from Takagi. Just now the gang almost rushed over, Hirano classmates confronted them, scared them back, and now he is resting to recover his strength. Gao Cheng classmates are vigilant with guns, but Fong Nan students, you can rest assured, your Gao Cheng classmates and teachers will use their lives and bodies to protect. Is there two words in that last sentence that are superfluous? What is the use of the body? Fong Nan rolled his eyes, the anger in his heart was reduced a lot by Jugawa Shizuka's punch, and finally told them to hold on for a moment, they would seize the time to rush over. Episode 50. Takagi and Mr. Jugawa are fine for the time being, but we still have to hurry up. Poison Island looked at Fong Nan, who was somewhat serious, and said slowly. Fong Nan nodded. The information revealed by Jugawa Shizuka on the phone was not much, but it seemed to become a lot more complicated. In short, it was right to rush over quickly. Asami Nakoka noticed some change in the atmosphere in the car, so she looked at the landmark erected directly in front of the lane, Bedmain City Nuclear Kernel District, and unconsciously increased the throttle. At this time, Fong Nan's three people officially entered the second residential area of the Bedmain City. Ding! Complete the achievement mission, over 1,000 corpses, to get the enhanced hunting trench coat X1 and the primary strength potion X2. Ding! Complete achievement missions, accumulate 3 silver chests, and gain 250 boost points, primary stamina potion X4. Ding! Complete the achievement mission, first boost, to get primary endurance potion X2. Ding! Complete the achievement mission, strength attribute value break 100, to get the enhanced edition functional drink X1 and the primary stamina potion X1. Ding! Complete the achievement mission, Stamina Attribute Value Break 100, to get the Enhanced Edition Functional Drink X1 and the Primary Stamina Potion X1. Fong Nan, who was planning to lie on the back seat and rest for a while, was coldly shocked by a series of system prompts in his mind. The whole person was suddenly shocked, and even his eyes froze, until he was noticed by Poison Island Tsunako and looked at him in doubt, and only slightly returned to his senses. Asami Nakoka has slowly adapted to this. After all, as a big sister, she has never seen anything in the world, although this occasional daze is not very common, but it does not matter, now I see it. Poison Island only glanced at it once, then turned her head back and continued to maintain her wooden knife. Along the way, her wooden knife was more or less damaged, and it was estimated that it would not take long, so she was thinking about looking for a substitute, but the sword was sometimes more difficult to find than a hot weapon, so wouldn't it be difficult to take 2 watermelon knives herself? At this time, Fong Nan slowly returned from that surprise, and at this time, he only felt that this succession of prompts sounded so wonderful. It's addictive. System, open the warehouse and see. Fong Nan pulled out the panel of the system warehouse and looked at the various materials in the warehouse, his eyes shining. System repository, fortified bread X1/box, fortified sports drink X1/bottle, fortified mineral water X1/carton, military binoculars X1. 5.56 rifle bullet X999. 9.9 pistol bullet X556. Advanced all-rounder fighting skills book X1. Enhanced edition C4 bomb X8. Enhanced functional drink X2, primary strength potion X2. Primary stamina potion X6. Primary endurance agent X2. Enhanced hunting trench coat X1, just like the backpack in the online game. Looking at the pile of items, he felt this heavy happiness. Perhaps, this is the result of people's efforts, so it is said that the heavens reward hard work. The ancients sincerely do not deceive me. Fong Nan recalled everything he had experienced since the outbreak of the zombie crisis, and felt that life had never been like this, ups and downs, and then ups and downs. Finally to the peak of life. When Fong Nan thought of this, the corners of his mouth unconsciously grinned. The Poison Island in the front row was maintaining the wooden knife, did not see, but Nakoka Asami glanced at Fong Nan from time to time, and suddenly saw Fong Nan in a daze, and the godless Fong Nan suddenly grinned at the corner of his mouth, and could not help but feel cold. What's going on? The illness is even worse. Alas, young, long eyebrows clear-eyed, pity. Asami Nakoka sighed, feeling that this world is unfair. The God Lord gave you a handsome skin bag, strong physical fitness, but forgot to give you one less sutra. For all this, Fong Nan didn't know it, because he was immersed in his own treasure trove. In the system warehouse, at the bottom of each item, there is a line of eye-catching detail information for small characters. You can query the details of this item, very convenient. Rushing from the New Bird Viaduct, there was no danger along the way, not only harvested 2 silver treasure chests, but also completed the achievement mission, and the rewards are so generous, it's just a pity. Looking at the 3 kinds of potions lying quietly in the system warehouse, Fong Nan had a kind of love and bitterness. For no other reason, these 3 different potions were all primary. After that encounter on the viaduct, Fong Nan had already learned that the drawbacks of the primary potions, and his physique attribute values had also exceeded the upper limit of the primary potions, so these potions were useless to him. Disappointed for a few seconds, Fong Nan regained his strength and set his eyes on the few fresh items he had just obtained, which he hadn't seen before, and they were all enhanced versions, and he didn't know what miracle effects there were. The first is an enhanced version of the hunting trench coat, which looks domineering just by listening to the name. System, open the details of the hunting trench coat. Ding. Name, hunting trench coat. Consumption, 100, 0 is permanently damaged. Additional effects, waterproof +10, fireproof +10, cold +10, bulletproof +20. Description, a bloodstained dark trench coat. Well, it looks a bit like body armor, but I don't know how to wear it and what the visual effect is. Fong Nan saw the specific details of the trench coat. The additional effect looks good, is worried that after wearing some of the visual sense of 2 middle 2. He couldn't help but think of an organization in a hot-blooded anime, also wearing a red cloud trench coat. Think about himself wearing this trench coat, and then stand on the building and look down at a group of mentally handicapped zombies below, and coldly say, a bag of rice carries several floors. Zombies, ABA. This picture, when you think about it, is very frightening. No, I can't think about it anymore, so let's hurry up and get the next one. Fong Nanguang is thinking about it. Goosebumps are about to come out, although he has also passed the 2nd grade, but in this realistic and cruel world environment, this is no longer the middle 2, this is a brain cripple.